Hello, welcome back to Wholesome by Sarah's channel. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going with this recipe, but we're gonna work it out along the way. What I've got in my mind at the minute is that we're working with prawns. Feel like we have this idea in our minds that they're really expensive. Make sure you check how many you need, because often a recipe doesn't call for a kilo of prawns, which might be 50 bucks a kilo or something. But you know, if you're serving 2 people, sometimes even 4 people, 2 or 3 prawns might suffice. With my normal content, I don't use seafood enough. I love it. In my first cookbook, Wholesome by Sarah, I've got a prawn saganaki recipe, which people have loved. Really easy, really quick. It's a bit of a play on that, but I'm going to add risoni, my favorite. If you know me well, you know I love risoni. Because you guys are literally gonna come on the journey with me to make it, I'm hoping that it's gonna work out. But I think I know what I'm doing in my mind. I kind of just start and see where it takes me. So I'm thinking this is gonna serve 4, again, guessing. I've got 400 grams of prawns. So like I said before, that's less than half a kilo. You don't always need a whole lot of prawns that's gonna make every dish really expensive. And half a kilo, that was about, from the market, about $18. You've got to weigh up, is it worth it? Should we be having it all the time? For the means of today, I just grabbed about 400 grams. I've got some butter, lemon, and some garlic. We're gonna rub all our prawn in that and get the prawns in there searing. They do not take long to cook. And overcooked prawns, when they get tough and yucky, are not good. I wonder if this bowl is actually too small. Let's give it a whirl. And you know, if crap goes everywhere, then we'll figure it out. We're going to zest a lemon, and always scoop up those bits, because there's always, look at all that got stuck behind there. If you're zesting a lemon using a microplane, even using a grater, careful with a box grater, you just want to take off that nice thin yellow layer. Once you start getting to the white, it's the pith, it's very bitter, can ruin your marinade or your dressing. Then I'm going to cut our lemon in half, squeeze in your lemon. Beautiful. Then we're going to stir in some butter. I might just put in half of this. Again, I'm kind of making this recipe up as I go, and then I'll put the other bit of the butter to start heating in the pan. And then I'm just going to stir that. I know it's going to look clumpy and everything for now. It will obviously separate when I cook my prawns. So that's all right for now. I'm still undecided, am I going to throw the garlic in with the prawns, or am I going to get the prawns going and then throw the garlic in towards the end so it doesn't burn? Someone actually asked me the other day, I notice you always peel and chop your garlic. They said on social media now all they see is minced garlic, so I'm often using a microplane or mincing it on a box grater. I just love chopping garlic, or using a garlic crusher. I really love the process of cutting garlic and then it being in all different little shapes and sizes for whatever it is you're cooking. I don't know, something I've done since being a kid. Do you love my little cloth poking out here? If you don't want your chopping board to slide around and be dangerous, wet a Wet-X or some paper towel or a tea towel, squeeze it, wring it out, and pop it under your board, and it really allows it to not stick, but it's a lot easier to chop and move things around without you potentially cutting off your fingers. Okay, we're gonna move over to the pan now. I've got a lot of prawns here. As I said, this serves 4. I'm actually thinking that I've bought too many prawns. I'm gonna cook them all, but I'm gonna cook them in batches. If you try and cook or brown meat or seafood in a pan and you try to stuff too much in the pan, they would basically just let out a whole lot of moisture and they'd essentially stew, rather than having a really nice hot heated pan, cooking them in batches. They get a beautiful caramelization and crust on them, and they cook throughout as well. So that's just something to note. This is key with cooking seafood because it doesn't take long. Different if you've got like a thick piece of fish, but with things that cook really quickly like prawns, a couple of minutes each side, you want the pan to be really nice and hot. Otherwise you're gonna half cook them, you're gonna half stew them, you're gonna not color them, and you're not gonna get a nice result at the end. So let's get that nice and hot. I'm gonna grab a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, get that in there, get it heating. I often find if I'm just using butter that it can burn a little bit too easily when it's by itself, whereas when the oil is in there it helps. Oh shivers, I forgot to salt. God, I can't believe that's like the thing I always say to people, don't forget to season. It makes such a difference to meats when you're browning it to lots of things. Let's get a couple going, separate them. Ooh, sizzle, sizzle. Okay, spread them out, probably one more. Don't move them around too much, you don't need to. You can just swivel the pan. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of butter from here, not too much, because I've got to do it in 2 batches. Great, already smelling amazing. Make sure they're getting nice and browned. See what I mean? If I had have added the garlic, I feel like the garlic would be sitting in the butter and burning right now. So I'm gonna hold off on the garlic. That's good, they're nearly time to turn. That's how quick prawns are. Love how quick they are. They're so good for a weeknight meal because they cook in minutes. Let's do a little test. Oh yeah, yum. Turn those over, getting nice and brown. You can move them around a bit if you've got hot spots on your pan. See how they're colouring, nice and orange. That means they're cooking. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit now. We don't want to burn the pan. I forgot to say as well, if you love chilli, definitely add some fresh chilli to that prawn marinade or chilli flakes. I just add fresh chilli on top at the end. These are nearly done, so I'm going to throw in half the garlic and let that sizzle. Go up again, keep it moving. The garlic will just need a minute or two, but you don't want the garlic to sit on the bottom of the pan too much because that's when it burns. They are nearly done. Now I give it a nice full toss, so I reckon the prawns are ready now. Whatever risoni dish I'm making, I'm gonna stir them through at the end. So keep that in mind, that they'll have a minute or two further cooking, or at least warming. Beautiful. See, even that garlic is starting to colour already, and it was only in for the last minute or so. Oh my God, even that salt and that butter and oil and garlic, wow. Round two, more extra virgin olive oil. This time I'm gonna put the butter in before. Get that sizzling, and when that's nice and hot, we're gonna go in with the rest of our prawns. Separate them so they're not stewing, and crank that heat up nice and high. That butter's all getting soaked into them. They're starting to colour, which is really nice. All right, let's flip. See our lovely colour. Watch out that doesn't spit oil up at you. Now I'm going to turn that down, and then I'm going to throw in my garlic for the last minute or two. Move them around. Give them a nice toss with everything just to coat all the garlic, the butter. That's exactly what we're looking for. Nice colour. Turn that off. Grab your plate before that garlic burns and pour it in. I'm going to reuse that pan for the part that I have no idea what I'm doing with. No, just kidding. We're going to put those aside now because they are going to go in after. I'm just going to give this pan a little bit of a wipe out, just where there's a bit of black that's just started forming on the bottom. We don't want that to go into our next bit. Be careful when you do give your pan a rinse out in between. Just watch there's no water droplets left in there, because then if you add olive oil, like we're about to, that's when you can get those really big spats that almost burn, you know, and can really hurt you. I'm gonna use shallots for this. I don't want people to freak out at that. I think I'm just gonna chop, and then slice it up. Shallots are just a form of onion. They're just a little bit more mild and more sweet. If you don't do shallots or you don't have shallots, you can absolutely use brown onion. So a bit chunky. I just think they do soften up a little bit more quickly. They're less potent. The brown onion is one of my favourite veggies of all time. But for this sort of quick dish, you know, it only sort of cooks for about 10-15 minutes, that I think shallots are a great option. But you do you know? I mean, if you like brown onion, you like red onion, spring onion, not so much. I wouldn't use spring onion. That's a little bit more to finish off dishes, to eat raw, to be cooked in certain dishes. I think that's enough. So let's get that on. Let's get a bit of extra virgin olive oil in your pan. This is good. This is good. This YouTube channel actually might teach me to be neat and tidy and clean as I go, because usually I just leave it all and it all just builds and builds and builds over the day. So we're getting our oil nice and hot. Remember, 30 seconds or so until that oil comes to heat. And then we are adding our shallots. Sizzle, sizzle, one of my favorite noises and smells in the whole entire world. When you put onion into a pan and it starts to sizzle and then lets off its delicious and beautiful aroma. Usually I would go garlic, because there's quite a bit of garlic in the prawns. I decided to skip it at this point. There it is. Oh my gosh, best smell in the world. Now this is the part where I'm trying to work out what I put in next. White wine is optional, and if you don't want to include white wine in this recipe, some people are funny about it, giving it to kids, even though it does burn off the alcohol technically. For whatever reason you don't want to put in the wine, you can just sub it out with more stock. I think I've got half a cup here of white wine. Just add half a cup more of stock. Whatever stock you want, veggie stock is probably the best one for this. You can use a fish stock, but I don't think it's necessary, and I don't want an overpowered flavour of fish and seafood and prawns and that kind of thing. Then I've got, I think, 3/4 of a cup of risoni is going to be enough, and my canned cherry tomatoes. That's what we're going to go with. Don't let me forget to put our yummy baguette in the grill. Might need about 5 to 10 minutes or so, so I will put it in once the risoni goes in. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt. Good, that's starting to break down nicely. It's browned up a little bit. Tomato paste next. Let's do about a tablespoon or two. There's a big difference there. I'm going to go with nearly 2 tablespoons. I'll do 2 just to make it easy for recipe creation. And stir it around with your onion or shallot. Coat the shallot in it. So we've cooked out that tomato paste a little bit. Now I'm going to add my white wine because I really want to bring the heat up and boil that away. Beautiful. That was about 3/4 of a cup actually. Let's get that really boiling to reduce it quite a bit. Yes, good. Thickening up. What we want to see. Probably a bit too high now. Turn that down. But we can see how it's really thickened up just in a couple of 20 seconds kind of thing. So keep that boiling a little bit to burn off that alcohol. So far, so good. I haven't screwed up the recipe yet, which I'm really happy about. It's also smelling really yummy. Or maybe that's just the white wine. Should have a little glass of white wine while I'm doing my lovely cooking. Sort of 1 to 2 minutes, that's all it needs, tomato paste and white wine to really thicken up. Now I'm going to add tinned cherry tomatoes, just 1 can. And yeah, it's nice because they have the juices. I always think there's a little bit of waste in there, so pour a little bit of stock in and give it a smush around. Oh, let's crank that up a little bit. Yeah, bubble, 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 love that. I'm gonna go with 3/4 of a cup of risoni. Risoni, like any pasta or even pearl couscous, it doesn't look like much. By the time it absorbs the liquid and cooks, it like triples or quadruples its size. Thinking this will serve 4, but we can always adjust or change if it's not enough. See, it looks like nothing. I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't look like enough. I've got to throw in another 1/4 of a cup, but I'm gonna just trust the process. Let's turn that down a little bit for now and just coat the risoni in all those yummy juices. Sorry, I'm using my tomato paste spoon to stir my stock, so it might turn a bit red. Give that stock a really good stir. And then we're gonna add that. Remember, I put a little bit of the stock into the can to make sure we got all those juices. I am flipping out a little bit that I've got a bit too much liquid in there, but again, let's trust the process. You know, the risoni will absorb a whole lot of that liquid as it cooks. If it's absorbed and the risoni is cooked and done and there's still a little bit of excess liquid, it's actually quite yummy. It's better than being the opposite where the risoni soaks it all up and then the risoni is stodgy, there's no liquid and it feels like it's just a gluggy mess. I'd prefer have more liquid in a dish like this, and then you've got your yummy baguette to soak up that yummy liquid at the end. So I'm gonna trust the process. Let's turn it up to a boil. I did salt at the beginning with some with the shallots, but I'll put a little bit of salt there and a good crack of pepper. Love a lot of pepper. You can also use red chili at the end. I'll show you how. What do they say? A watched pot never boils. So gotta look away. All right, and then, oh, there you go. Now it's boiling. It worked. Maybe it was listening. Make sure there's no sticky risoni on the bottom. Well. I'm gonna lower it down to about medium heat, 5-6 on my induction. And we're gonna pop the lid on. Okay, Google, put a timer on for 8 minutes.
Okay, 8 minutes.
Starting now. And don't let me forget, remember when the risoni went in, I've got to put in my bread. Whatever bread, I've got some, it's like a ciabatta roll. As you can see, I didn't cut it very well. I'm going to shove that into a hot grill, put that in there for a couple of minutes, check it as it goes. You know how quickly a grill can burn. It's been a couple of minutes, so you can see it's kind of bubbling, and turn that down a bit now. As I run my wooden spoon over it, I can feel some of the risoni pieces sticking again to the bottom. It's probably not one of those things that you can just pop the lid on and walk away for 10 minutes. It's looking beautiful though. Flavour's coming along well too. I'm gonna now partially leave the lid on so that some of that liquid can evaporate. Once that risoni is cooked, we can then put the prawns on top. And then I'm just in 2 minds about what kind of toppings I'm gonna do. So fresh lemon juice, which is gonna be a must. Either pepper or chili. Your chili can go in with the prawns when they cook, or your chili can go in at the beginning with your shallot, or you can slice fresh chili and just pop it on the top of yours, which is often what my husband and I do because our girls, they do love a bit of spice, but when it gets too hot or too chilly, they clock out. The other ones that I'm in 2 minds about, so cheese. I don't know whether to go like Parmesan, grate all over it, or to break up a whole lot of feta. And then in terms of your herbs, you can actually use dill, parsley, or basil. I love dill with prawns. I think they're a match made in heaven. So I'm going to put dill on this. I'm very aware, oh, don't forget my bread. Oh yeah, that's starting to toast well. I reckon it's a little bit too early. I'm gonna pull it out because I don't want it to get too toasted. Oh yeah, lovely. Great. Where was I? Sorry. So yeah, I am very aware that prawns, but I'm very aware that sometimes you go to buy a bunch of herbs and you're like, oh my God, that bunch of herbs is $5.99. I'm not buying that to use a little sprinkling on top of a dish. If you do want to add a cheese, grated Parmesan works beautifully. So does crumbled feta or goat's cheese. You don't put feta and parmesan and dill and parsley on it. So I'm trying to give you options here of sweet, I've got basil in my garden, or sweet, I've got parsley in my garden, I'll use a bit of that. Ooh, what was that for? Oh, my risoni. Okay, let's check it out. Ooh, looking good. And I can feel on the bottom, it's still catching a little bit. Turn you down a little bit. Remember how I said, oh God, I'm worried that there's not gonna be enough risoni. It is starting to fill out a bit more, but it is definitely gonna be a more liquidy dish, which is not a problem either. It's a really yummy, good sauce to dip into with your bread. Oh, and that's the other thing. Oh God, I'm just changing the recipe as I go now, but you could throw in spinach. And I feel like this lacks a bit of veg. That will soak up a little bit more of the liquid. So keep that going. I think I'm gonna use some dill and parsley together because I've got them both here, so why not? Dill you can just hand pick like this if you want, or you can also throw it on the board and do some slicing. I actually think I'm gonna go with feta. Feta, prawns and dill, what a match made in heaven as well. Kind of doing this in a very non-ordered way because I'm weary that I'm on camera, so I'm just like, quick, 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 hurry up. If I was by myself, I would just slowly tucking away. That's probably enough for now. Got to use the dill, got to make it valuable. Now you can see the risoni is really starting to thicken up now. I'm gonna start with my parsley, and I'm trying to wonder if I will give this a little slice. I do love big fronds of dill, but most people don't. So there are herbs. Let's have a little taste. Give it a minute because often I put it straight in my mouth and burn my tongue, burn the roof of my mouth, get a blister. Yum. Perfect, risoni is cool. I am gonna do the little addition of the spinach. Don't look in my messy fridge, you're not allowed to follow me. So I've got some here that we had for lunch. Thing about spinach is it cooks in under a minute in a hot, hot sauce like that. So I don't wanna add it now because it just sits there and wilts and wilts and wilts. What I might do is turn that over and give another couple of minutes while we finish. Don't let me forget that.
Got it. 3 minutes. And that's starting now.
Spinach in. Love throwing spinach in a big, beautiful pot. Colour goodies. Whoops. It'll thicken it up beautifully once it starts to cook and wilt. Fresh lemon. I'm gonna cut that now. That's the one, the other half that I zested, that I didn't use, so that's great. We're not wasting it. I mean, I would never waste lemon. I could put lemon on a lot. We've got the spinach. It's all wilted. It's added a beautiful color. It's soaked up some of the liquid a little bit as well. So we're going to collect our prawns. I'm wondering if I want them to sit on top, but I've got quite a few. So I'm like, maybe some of them can be stirred through and then a couple on top. I do have tails on. I don't mind if they go in my dishes. It doesn't bother me. You can obviously ask wherever you get your seafood to buy your prawns without tails, and they can go underneath and get stirred through. You can always put some of those garlicky, oily goodies. Just adds to the flavour of the dish. Let's do that and stir that through. And remember, they will keep cooking, so you don't want to do this till very, very last minute. I'm actually going to keep 2 just for me and Nevon to eat. And then we're just going to put them on the rest kind of on top so they get seen. If this was just for you and your family or whatever, you don't obviously have to care about any of this. I like presentation. I think it was all my years in catering. Turn that off. Oh, my bread. Oh God, maybe I've overdone it a little bit. Let's see. Let's butter the bread or olive oil, whatever you prefer. So I feel like that side of the bread doesn't look too toasted, but it is. Like, listen. Oh yeah. Do you know what I probably should have had? Danish feta. And it's not a big deal, but Danish feta is lovely because it is obviously a creamier kind of texture, but it melts. When you use Danish feta with hot dishes, it melts beautifully. Maybe I could be like Nigella Lawson and start to talk about food in a seductive way. It's not really me, so I'm not going to do that. Squeeze your lemon on. Now don't overcrowd the pan with a shitload of herbs. See, I've cut way too many, but you can stir those through or you can add them to individual dishes once you go. Then a little bit of dill. I'm going to do some pepper. We'll do a trick of like, just shove it all out of the way. I'm a bit annoyed about my bread. It looks shitty, but you know what? I feel like because I love the toast look and I only had the grill, like I only had it up that way, I should have probably turned it. But listen, it's still, and I actually think this might be good because this side is really fluffy and doughy still, so it'll soak up that liquid, but it just looks really crappy, I reckon. But anyway, we shall see. Break that all into some yummy pieces. Ooh, very crunchy. You can hear it, so I'm not lying. I'm really, really excited about this. Oh my gosh, look, perfect thickness now. It's still, oh. Let's plate up a little plate. That plate's got a chip, that plate's got a chip. So we're just gonna do, look at the cherry tomatoes, feta, make sure we get some of the herbs, okay? I'm hoping this is actually gonna taste as good as it looks, even though it's just me eating. I like to do a little. I'll put some on the bread in a minute. I just wanna try this. First, I wanna just try the risoni sauce with a bit of feta and the herbs. See if that's good. Oh wow. Oh my goodness. Yum. Okay. Oh my God, I just dribbled. I could say I drooled, it was that good. So there you go. I'm gonna also try and get some feta on this prawn and try and eat it elegantly. To die for. You guys have to make it. I'm so certain that you're gonna like it if you like prawns. But if this is your kind of thing, then I urge you to make it because I feel like you're gonna be like, oh my God, that was incredible. And that is now going to be my, probably not weekly repertoire because we don't always get prawns every week. Here we go. Oh my God. Yum. I'll finish my mouthful. That's 10 out of 10. I might be called cocky for saying that about my own recipe, but that is phenomenal. And it does serve four. Like when you're putting the ingredients in, you think, is it gonna be enough? Is it gonna be enough? And you're like, that into 4 bowls with your bread dipping in. Yum, yum, yum. What are we gonna call it? Because remember I made it up on the spot. I didn't make it up on the spot as in, you know, 1 pan, I was gonna say creamy, but there's not really any cream or, you know, dairy element in it other than the feta. 1 pan garlic, prawns, risoni, cherry tomatoes, spinach, dill. I think I need some time to think. Something about 1 pan, risoni, garlic prawns, feta dill, all the goody parts, just yum. You guys have to promise me, make it. And then please let me know whether that's through comments on here or come onto Instagram and send me a direct message. I would love to know what you think out of this dish because in my eyes, it's a 10 out of 10 and I don't do that very often. So enjoy.